You told your father at the beginning of the month that you couldn't pay his rent. And then at the end of the month, you also said, hey, don't forget, I'm not paying your rent. He was like, why are you springing this on me? Why didn't I get more warning? You told his parents that. The thought process being, this is your grandparents, the thought process being, hey, heads up, I expect them to come to you next.
Yeah.
And they gave you the whole, I don't know, some like Bible verses, and they went hard.
Yeah, they were absurd. Yeah, what did they say? Like, I hope you can live the rest of your life with no family. You need to honor your father and mother. And it's like, and you said the perfect line in the video, you know, I'll botch it, but you basically were like, so everything was fine. Our relationship was hunky-dory and dandy until I said one thing about not wanting to pay anymore. And it's not like your parents are handicapped or crippled or they, you know, they're injured to the point they can't work. It was just like, yeah, it really did reveal they saw you as like that's just like a cure-all. That's just our cure-all to every problem. What do you need? Oh, just ask Josh. He makes YouTube money. And meanwhile, you're trying to build a career online, and it's not good to have a bunch of emotional hot tie-ups and hang-ups. It really, people may think like, oh, making YouTube videos, oh, that's like the dream. It's like, well, it's also self-driven. You know, and if you're not in the mood to be doing something like that, you're not going to reach the level of success you otherwise would. And obviously, you know, having your parents and grandparents, like, I think you may have even agreed what your grandparents said was even more fucking absurd. And I also hate that Bible verse shit when it's convenient for them. And like the whole time, like, cause I had to go to like the kind of cult,
fucking pull out that Bible verse about paying your debts.
Yeah. As like I was seeing those texts, I was like, I really hope the next time he sends like a bunch of Bible verses at them, like fuck you verses. And it's like, and you, even in your video being more like, you handled it more maturely than I would have. I would have sent a bunch of Bible verses. Like, you're going,
it is wrong. The wicked borrow and do not repay, but the righteous give generously. Fucking send that one right back at him. Good Lord, man.
So you said that you never had a strained relationship with those grandparents, and it wasn't until they were trying to like act as like a defensive hedge around your dad that they reacted that way to you. Were there any signs that they were never that close, or did you think you had a good relationship?
Like we would get along. I'm not a super religious person, but they tried to make me and my sister always go to church and like force me to like Bible camp and stuff for 2 weeks. That was a whole thing.
Shit sucked.
And I don't know. It was just kind of like agree to disagree. Hi, how you doing? I'll give you a hug if I see you. And that was it. Like there was nothing really bitter or anything. And so when I said, hey, I'm not going to pay the rent, just giving you a heads up that they're going to come to you. I'm not saying you have to. Nobody's got to do it. I'm just saying this is what they normally do. I don't want to do it. And it was like, you've burnt your last bridge with me, son. Hope you can live the rest of your life without talking to your family. And I didn't know what to say. I was pretty at a loss for words, so I literally just sent a thumbs up emoji, and he put classic response. Josh.
It was a perfect response.
Perfect response. Look, how old are you, Josh?
I'm 31.
Okay, first of all, you look 25, so kudos to you. Proud of you for sending the thumbs up emoji. Yeah. Proud of you. So proud of you for sending the thumbs up emoji and cutting this out of your life, because
thumbs
like
down emoji would have worked too.
That would have worked too. Or been like, yeah, the money's on the way, and then block communications. They're like, I don't know. He said it was coming. I don't know where.
Oh, geez, you don't send it to.
You don't send it. You don't send it.
Yeah, that's so fucked up. Like, I can't imagine my grandparents being like that to me. Like it doesn't even cross my mind. Like they would never be that cruel. And this is something that, you know, it's not just religious people. None of us are.
No, it's not just religious.
Yeah. It's like a level of vindictiveness of, oh, you're going to question like the life I've set up. You're going to take the pillar that you're holding my life up with and remove that. Well, fuck you. You're going to hell. You're going to hell, and you're going to, you know, you don't get to, you know, be in the, what was it? You showed like 2 books where you're like, they told me to read this, and that if I read them, I'd go to heaven. That's not how it works, even by their own rules. But in that your grandpa would be smiling down upon you as you read them. And that is such horseshit, such manipulative horseshit.
Yeah, my grandma was very like, because my grandpa just passed away. I was pretty fresh, like, I don't know, maybe like under a year or something. she would send me all these religious books and be like, yeah, thanks, Grandma. And sometimes she'd send me the same book twice. Maybe she forgot that she sent me the first one, but in the book, she would leave her own little handwritten notes, like, just read these and pray and do all that stuff. And if you do that, then your grandfather will be smiling on you from heaven. But if you don't, you won't get to see him again. It's like, Grandma, I'm 30, 29. Like, this doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not feeling scared anymore. You're not in because I had to go to those Christian camps too when I was younger, and it would be like, hey, everybody ready for 40 minutes of volleyball? All right, now 6 hours of hellfire and brimstone, and you're bad. And it was that your experience at those where they would like hedge these huge sermons of guilt trips between like, oh, dodgeball and ping pong. That's what it was.
My church camp was 2 weeks of just you had to speak in tongues all day, every day. That was the entire point for 2 weeks. And they'd wake you up really early and you go to sleep really late. And if you couldn't do it, they'd put you in a corner. And it was in like a basketball area, like a gym. And they'd put you on your knees on the wooden floor and you'd have to face the corner if you couldn't speak in tongues. And I've never been able to do it. And we all had to hold hands, right? And they'd come and they'd do like the thing where they push you over and you're supposed to fall over and flail with the Holy Spirit and stuff.
Oh my God.
And, it didn't work for me. None of that worked. And so
it doesn't work for anyone.
What is speaking in tongues exactly? It's when you pretend you know a foreign language, and
it's when the Lord is speaking through you. When the Holy Ghost is speaking through you, actually, that part of the Holy Trinity. And at my church, it was done. We would. I would see it occasionally, like there would be an older guy, or usually in his 50s or 60s, and he would shada-runduck, shada-la-la-la-runduck, ka-la-la-la-la. And I'm just like looking back at him at like 9 years old, like, bullshit. Bullshit.
He keeps using the same words.
I feel like Josh was just unwilling to lie.
Yeah,
he didn't pretend to speak in tongues. He didn't pretend to get knocked over by mystical waves. You were the most honest person there.
I don't. Why, if you're going to go to church and be in front of the Lord and all that stuff, why would you ever want to pretend and fit in? If it's not about them, it's just about you and God, right? So if I'm not feeling it, I'm not feeling it. There must be something wrong with me that I haven't asked forgiveness for. And why would I ever fake it? Clearly, everyone else that has fallen down around me is perfect, and something is wrong with me. But that's what you think when you're that age, and there's that much hysteria going on.
And when you're the only one doing something different, it doesn't matter if what they're doing is totally insane looking. You're still the odd one out. And you're the kooky one now for not falling in with the falling over and the speaking in tongues. Is that Pentecostal? Episcopal?
Yeah,
right?
Pentecostal.
Well, I never had to deal with that, thank God. That sounds fucking horrible. At the time, was there any part of you that thought like this is made up, or was it just kind of the consumed with guilt, like I'm a bad Christian, I'm going to go to hell, I'm not doing it right?
Yeah, it's more the second one. I had my moments where I was like, yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense, but faith, right? So whatever, just keep going. And so that's probably most of how I felt. But when I would ask questions, they didn't like that. I was a kid in class that was like, how did this dude live in this fish's stomach for like days and days, like that doesn't seem legit. And so they would send me out and make me go sit with my parents in the adult church. And I would do that at church camp too. And I was like, why is it not working? And they'd look at me and they'd say, Josh, just let it flow. And I'm like, can you elaborate on how do you quantify that? How does Superman fly faster? Is it just more? What does it mean?
He just wants to fly hard.
He's just straining.
Yeah. What do you do?
Yeah.
You weren't given the gift of faith. That's what my father would tell you.
That's literally a thing that they'll say. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember hearing that. Like, if you weren't given the gift of faith, doesn't mean you don't have to believe. It just means it's going to be harder for you. And even as a kid, I remember being like, well, this isn't a very fair game.
You want to hear my unpopular opinion about religion that I've come to recently? I don't think you should be able to indoctrinate, I'm using air quotes for those who are listening, children until they're at least like 15 or something. I don't think you should be able to introduce them to religion until they're like at least old enough to fucking drive in a car with another adult.
Like 25, right? Let the cerebral cortex. What is it that
your brain has not complete. Well, like don't even get me started on army recruitment and alcohol and tobacco. but like the idea, like I started early, right? And Taylor started early as well. Woody didn't suffer this, but like and Josh, it sounds like you were there early as well. You know, in our early childhood, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, in church, listening to a guy, and I don't know if you're still religious, Josh, but like at all, but like listening to a guy who's basically like scamming us so that we'll give him 10% of our paycheck every week. You know, just it's like this super nice man apparently who's up there who doesn't have a real fucking job, who just shows up here one day a week with some like copy paste sermon and scams all the adults out of 10% of their pay, and like has his house paid for and his car paid for. Like that guy drove a Cadillac.
Yeah. The pastor would often it was like they were the CEO of the church, where it was like, that beautiful home right on the church land. Oh, that's the pastor's house. And it's like, do they need that? They've got one kid and they live in a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom estate, seemingly.
Now I will say, there were good things there. And I want to like temper like what I just said with like religion can be great. Like religion can like give you this sense of community. It can give you sort of this web of people that you're associated with that can help you like financially, emotionally, like if a loved one dies, they're right there, like bringing some casserole over, like it's this web of like community that you can form within like a church or something like that. And that stuff is great. It really is. And a lot, and at its core, like especially, I'm only really truly familiar with the Christian religion, but like there's a lot of great stuff there, like a lot of philosophical greatness there. That if you actually do live by that religion, you're a pretty decent man. You know, like as long as you don't focus too much on some of the hateful stuff in the Old Testament.
If you pick and choose the good parts of it, you're a pretty good man.
I think he's more saying like the 10 Commandments ones, where it's like, don't steal, don't cheat on your wife, don't, be a dishonest liar. Like those, all of us
here, like believe in the 10 Commandments, right? Like except for
them are like
except for the God. 4 that are about God. Like the 4 10 Commandments, they're like, don't you fucking cheat on me. like imagine if your wife was like that in her vows at your wedding. It was like like 4/10 of her vows was, and if you ever fuck around on me, lake of fire.
Dude, that's like the thing that
red flag.
I agree with you. Like there's a lot of good stuff to be taken out of it, and like I agree with like the kids thing insofar as like they should focus more on like the, hey, did you steal that Play-Doh from Tommy? What does the Bible say? Don't steal. Did you just lie about stealing that from Tommy? You're not supposed to lie. What I got inculcated with as a kid was like fear of hell, to the point that like it was debilitating. And I developed like really, people will say OCD. I've said this before, and be like, oh, I have to have a neat room. Like, no, at like 10, 11 years old, I had so much OCD. I had to touch things a certain amount of times. I had to tweak things. I had to turn things off and on, all because I thought if I didn't, that someone I knew and loved would go to hell. And and it was like obsessive to the point that I'd be like crying to my parents, like, I don't want my grandparents to go to hell. I don't want my brothers to go to hell. I don't want my friends to go to hell. I don't want to go to hell. How do I know if I'm going to go to hell? Like, do I know for sure? And I was fucking terrified. I'd lay asleep at night, and my mom at the time, her response was like, we're going to take him to a therapist, and it was a Christian therapist. And so like what should have happened is I go in and they're like, what's wrong, Taylor? And I'm like, I'm really afraid of everyone I love burning in hell for all eternity, and even me burning in hell for all eternity if I don't believe hard enough. I think I do, but how am I supposed to know? And like the way that he handled it, instead of being like, well, you need to calm down, you're not going to die and burn in hell, he was like, well, I still remember him. He had his little notebook. He was writing stuff down. He goes, well, these are real fears. These are real fears that you're in. And I was like,
at this point,
I was maybe 11 at this point. And I was, I got my mom put me on Prozac when I was 11 or 12 because I was so fucking. I think that the Prozac at that age really made me a more anxious person naturally than
you never otherwise would have. That's what's wrong with you now.
Yes, that's what's wrong with me now.
Taylor, I was only with hell. I want to slip this in.
Yeah.
When I was 12, I felt like had a choice to make, heaven or hell.
Mhm.
And it was like, they keep telling me heaven's the good one, but hell has all the cool people. Like, it must be a nonstop party. Hell has it just seems better, the warm versus the cold. Heaven seemed really boring.
No.
And hell, a nonstop orgy.
You didn't go to our church because you wouldn't even have time to talk to the cool guy next to you because you'd both be being tortured and just a perpetual burning forever. And like, I was only on the antidepressants for like,
maybe you could work your way into management.
He's a demon.
I was only on it for like,
We all start somewhere.
for like 6,
We've
8
talked about
months
this
or
before.
so.
That humans do not become angels. Humans do not become demons.
That's true. The demons are fallen
I
angels.
can't argue with science.
You can't. You certainly can't. There are some things that are, unapproachable. But something else I